All right. I think we're live, and I got the screen share going. I didn't put out like any kind of warning that I would be going live, so I don't think there's anyone here yet. But it's just getting some things set up. Hey, final boss, what's up, man? Is my audio okay? So I'll be starting off with a just quick little recap of what we did in the last stream because both these two streams tie very much into each other. So if you're watching this on like a replay, then oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Um, I definitely recommend. I mean, if you're watching it live, then it's live. But if you're watching it on a replay, then definitely watch the previous live stream first. I would say because that knowledge base will definitely add a lot more meaning to what I'm going to be presenting today. So in the last, this was the thumbnail for the last stream. And as you can see, like there's just so many things in our day-to-day life where we see, the mountain under the dome. And it's all about this world script is all about this North Pole mountain and getting to the center of the world. Let's see here. And I also talked about how this is likely a Mandela effect where pretty much all standard maps and globes no longer have like an ice cap where they used to at the North Pole. Now it's just ocean or water. And here you could see, the Star of Bethlehem, the eight-pointed star with the concentric circles. And we went over a lot of that. And I'll continue to be going over that for the next few live streams, all this North Pole symbolism. But today we'll mostly be focusing on the Mandela effect. And this looks like a map, like a school map from like the 70s. And you could see there's no ice cap up here, and I remember there always being like, or pretty much always being an ice cap up here, and now you can rarely find it. You could find some things, but not like official globes and maps and things like this, and even on Google Earth. And in the last stream, someone commented they wanted to see that video by Brian Stavely where he showed the people talking about the ice cap on Google Earth, and they're clearly like looking at an ice cap, and there's nothing there now, which is a big sign of the Mandela effect, where people are talking about something and looking at something, and it's no longer there anymore. Um, so I did link that video in one of the comments on the last stream. If you want to see it, it's on Brian's Odyssey channel. Hey, hey, Jared Jaguar, good to see you. Good to see you, Nate. Hey, what's up? Nice, man. Oh, no, I haven't watched Begonia yet, but I have heard of it. Um, I think it's one of two directors, and it's either Paul Thomas Anderson or the guy who made The Lobster. Is that correct? But I haven't seen it. I forget that other guy's name, but I'm not sure about Paul Thomas Anderson actually. I haven't really gone back and thought about and watched his movies, but the guy who made The Lobster and the Killing of a Sacred Deer and all that is most likely a world scripter. Um, so yeah, this is just a still from one of my previous videos where I ask, did God erase it from these maps because it was a lie? There was never like, I mean, maybe there was ice at the North Pole. I mean, who knows? But there's definitely a lot of secrets at the North Pole that they're not, telling us and showing us. And this map is something to be familiar with. Yeah, exactly. Great, Scott. Actually, this map right here, it shows Friesland. So right up here, you can see Friesland. And sorry, sometimes my cursor doesn't. I got this new computer, and sometimes like my cursor doesn't always show up. But like on all these images, I am trying to point things out on the images. But sorry, just sometimes it doesn't show up, and I'm not exactly sure why. But I noticed that in the last live stream. But it is what it is. Hey Jay, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hey Rolly, good to see you. Awesome, man. We got a lot of people in the house here. All right, so this map is, of course, something to be familiar with. It shows you, the X that marks the spot of the North Pole and the concentric circles. And also, I do want to just give a general shout out to, of course, Jay Dreamers, who's in the chat, and also to a number of Mandela Effect channels, because I'm going to be talking about a lot of Mandela effects this stream, and of course, how they relate to the North Pole Mountain. So, just blanketly, check out all these channels, subscribe to them, support them. Brian Stavely, unfortunately, his channel is basically down from YouTube, but you could find his content on Odyssey. And I did a few interviews or discussions with him that you could see there. And another is Jacobian, of course. It's Jaqobian. Another is maybe it's Mandela. Hazel Fiverr, Moneybags 73, which I actually do remember him used to being Moneybags 76, but his channel name literally got Mandela affected to Moneybags 73. Yeah, Emerald War, Digital Man, he's another good one. Blue Pac Man. I always forget the number at the end of Blue Pac Man's name. I think it's Blue Pac Man 13. I always forget that one, but Blue Pac Man, definitely check him out. Um, Sandy Diva, of course, Sandy Diva Mandela Effects, and Brian McFarlane and Teresa Lynch. And there's some bigger channels too that I learned some from, like All Time is a pretty big channel, and there's one called like I think Hidden Knowledge, and one called Book of Valis, and so just kind of like blanketly, check out those channels. There's tons of Mandela effects, tons of awesome research and things, and that's where I learned my base knowledge of the Mandela effect, so that I could put all this together. Um, with, of course, the help of the Holy Spirit, which is my number one influence, obviously. And but it doesn't go without saying. I should say that. So definitely thanks to the Holy Spirit. And actually, what I'm going to be showing you guys in this stream is like this stream. When I was putting it together, I mean, it's like off off the charts. I mean, you'll see, but I mean, I don't even. I hope I could do it justice, honestly, because this is some serious Holy Spirit driven information. And um, oh, it is Blue Pac-Man 13. Thank you. But yeah, guys, I mean, it's up to you if you see that or not. But yeah, it's this one's possibly the most mind-blowing stream that I've done so far. So I hope I can do it justice, like I said. So let's get going here. This is a clip from a previous video, X marks the spot. Same thing with the map here. Like I said, definitely check out my previous live stream. There's a ton of North Pole connections and high mountain connections, like this quote from Matthew in the Bible, where the devil takes Jesus up to the high mountain, the highest mountain, and shows him the kingdoms of the world. And thank you, Jared. I really appreciate that, man. Jared's linking some of these channels. If you guys can go check them out, that would be awesome. And the devil says, uh, all these things I'll give to you if you fall down and worship me. And of course, falling is like spiritually falling. So of course, Jesus says, no way, away with you, Satan, get behind me. So that's what we need to do is, whatever we're being offered in this world, whether it's, $1 billion or a hamburger for a V, we just need to say no to this beast system and to the devil, and go with our uh, Jesus Christ, influence. Um, so here we have also a number of quotes from the Bible about this high mountain in the north. In this in Kings, the Lord said, "Go and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord." You can. I don't want to get too into these. I mean, there's obviously a lot in the Bible about mountains. There's a lot in other mythologies and other religions. Mount Olympus, Mount Meru. I mean, it just goes on and on with this North Pole mountain. And we talked about this a lot in the previous stream. So, like, here's Mount Meru. You can look this up for yourself. And this is also where the symbolism comes in. This also is like Mother Mary too, because she gives like the virginal birth to the blue beam. So that symbolism happens on the world stage with the actual people, but it also happens to the earth itself, where the blue beam represents or is Jesus's life force energy, and it's birthed out of this central mountain in the North Pole, and that's likely what's going to be happening soon. Um, and here we have in Greek mythology Mount Olympus. Of course, there's a ton of stuff going on there, and it relates to a bunch of other things, like how I've been talking about how like certain cities like Seattle and New York and Washington D.C. and Jerusalem and Las Vegas. These are all representative of this North Pole area. And Seattle, for instance, just happens to be called the Emerald City, like the Emerald Rainbow and all that at the North Pole, the Northern Lights. But it also just happens to be right next to the Olympic mountain range. So, like, Mount Olympus is literally like right next to Seattle. And that's all named on purpose because the people who run this world know what they're doing. And they're always relating all this stuff to the North Pole. So here you see like Seattle right next to Olympic National Park. You can check all this stuff out on your own. Here's Olympic Mountains. Also, it's known as Hyperborea. This is another name for it. It's located beyond the north wind. All these things always point to the north. And also, if you look at or if you take it as the twin pillars, the north pillar would be the left pillar, and the south pillar would be the right pillar. And then when these pillars merge, the north would go down, so that would be like the mountain, and then the right pillar would go up, and this would be like the blue beam. And this is also like the Lucifer, masculine, physical energy on the left, and the spiritual, feminine, uh, Jesus energy on the right. And when they're combined at the center, Jesus goes up and Lucifer goes down. At least for what we're about to be experiencing, I would say. So here we have Psalm 48, Mount Zion, of course, and Zion is also in the Matrix. All these world script things are connected. Isaiah, let's see. I will sit on the mount of congregation. The farthest sides of the north. You're talking about the mountain in the north. BlackRock, this is like the biggest company in the world pretty much. They own practically everything, and they were founded in '88, which is interesting too because, I don't wanna get too into this number, but, I know you guys are aware of a lot of these '88 connections. It's basically like an evolutionary number, I would say. It's like the butterfly also, like the butterfly's wings. It's Back to the Future where you transcend time and space. This is how we evolve as humans. And BlackRock, it's an asset managing firm, and you can see they have like the top shares, and like you named the company, and BlackRock pretty much has like the majority share in all these companies. Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Nvidia, all of it, Tesla, like. And they're called BlackRock because this is from that central, the central, North Pole Mountain. This is where Lucifer rules this world. This is where his minions come from and start these companies that run everything. And just it all leads back to this central North Pole location, and it's known as the Black Rock, which we talked about a lot in the previous stream. And I showed a bunch of these posters and things. This is the Stranger Things soundtrack where the kids are on their bikes on this road, but if you look at the road from a different perspective, it's actually the Pyramidal Mountain at the North Pole. And then up here we have the Kraken, the dome, the plasma storm, and basically the end of the world, apocalyptic Armageddon event. Here's a Kong, Skull Island. These King Kong Godzilla movies are huge with this symbolism, and of course we have King Kong. He's basically like the Christ character, or like the character that represents us in these films. And here you have like the twins, the mountain under the dome. He's making like the M shape. We also have the pyramidal design of the soldiers walking towards this North Pole island where King Kong lives. Harry Potter, so these are all like the biggest things, Harry Potter, King Kong, like everybody knows these names. And here you have like the pyramidal design of the people going towards the North Pole Castle Mountain, where they actually even do put a dome over it at the end of the story. And there's also blue beams involved with all of that I've shown. Titanic, everyone knows this. This is the Central Mountain. I've talked about it before, so I just want to just quick recap here. So we have the 2001 Space Odyssey. This is, the central pyramidal mountain that's missing the capstone, basically, and you have the eclipse going on and the apex dome symbolism above it as well. Under the dome, this poster for Under the Dome. There's several posters for it, and they're all heavily symbolic. And this show Under the Dome I've talked about a lot. And this Under the Dome, it was written by Stephen King and produced by Steven Spielberg. So these are like the two biggest world scripters, I would say. And like Steven Spielberg and Stephen King, they just come up constantly. And it's interesting too that both their name is Stephen, but there is other people too that are world scripters like James Cameron, John Carpenter, David Lynch, Stanley Kubrick. There's a ton of people, so it's not just like a Stephen thing. But I find it interesting that the two biggest ones are named Stephen, which that name actually means crown. And so like Stephen King is like the crowned king, so that's interesting. Like, who is he? Who is this guy? And you can see, the road is making the pyramidal mountain like Stranger Things under the dome. And I just noticed this too the other day. This Charlotte's Web VHS tape. So you notice the characters are all making this pyramidal design, and then we have this spider that represents the Kraken entity, right, hanging in the middle, and then under it is the dome with the concentric dome layers. So, this symbolism just appears if it's like a family thing, like Charlotte's Web, if it's, more like adult, like Under the Dome or Stranger Things or whatever. Young Frankenstein, I noticed this one too recently. I mean, you have the North Pole Mountain here very clearly under the dome. It's peeking through the dome, like the blue beam symbolism, like the Disney castle symbolism, and also like the whatchamacallit, like the Tower of Babel type symbolism too, whether it's good or bad, depending. The Tower of Babel would basically be like the devilish inversion of the blue beam, essentially, that goes through the dome because the blue beam breaks through the dome at this central point. And then they also have the plasma storm and the top hat, and even here, like this is land, but it's all misty, so the mist surrounds the island, and it looks like water actually. This too, I noticed recently. So the there's a lot of keywords in the Mandela effect, and of course, heaven and hell are two of the biggest keywords, and there's other ones too, like rock, stone, door, bell. I mean, I've listed a lot out. I have some previous videos that go over the keywords of the Mandela effect, and heaven and hell are definitely two of those. So, I noticed this, VHS tape a long time ago, and, it didn't have anything that I would call a Mandela effect to it, and it's called, a movie called Heaven Can Wait. I've never seen it, I don't know anything about it, so I'm not making any kinda comments about the actors or the movie itself or anything, but it's a big movie, it looks like. It's got Warren Beatty, I think it's directed by him, Julie Christie, James Mason, Charles Grodin. So these are, it's a big movie. I think a lot of people do know about this. And if you look at the title, this changed while I was observing it. I observed this title because I noticed it had the name Heaven in it. Just one second. And when I first observed it, there was nothing that I would point to you guys to say, "Oh, this looks like a Mandela effect." But now, if you look at it, the E is clearly merged into the A here. And the C is definitely merged into the A here. I mean, like this, maybe they would do, even though I would say they wouldn't. But this would never happen. This is crazy. So you can see this logo just has it's almost like a dome, design. And even like the I into the T, I think all the letters are generally closer. But this C into the A, this is a telltale sign of the Mandela effect. So I think this is a message from God saying, heaven can wait for us. Like the work that we're doing here is important. All this, like, truth seeking and trying to get people to wake up and all that, like heaven can wait for us to finish what we're doing here. That's the message that I get from this. And it's definitely a Mandela effect 100% because I carefully looked at this in the past and there wasn't any kind of merging to this logo. This I also was shown recently. I can't say if this one is a Mandela effect or not, but it certainly looks like one. This Sears Wish book, and it reminded me of the one that I was shown earlier. It was a Macy's book about Thanksgiving, and I'll show you that in a second here. But look at all this like merging with the Vesica Pisces and the O's together. This is a very common pattern in the Mandela effect. There's a lot I can get into. I don't want to go too overboard. I mean, there's a ton of symbolism on this cover. It's kind of crazy. You can look at it, on your own and use your own discernment and ask God for guidance and all this. There's just too much. I don't want to get mired down in the details. I'm just here to like show you guys the broad view of everything as good as I can. So here's like another one with this book connection. Like, would Sears Wish book make this difficult to read? Like this is crazy looking. So I looked up what the name Sears mean, and the name Sears it means seer. So again, so this is like the blue beam wish book basically. It's like the name Sears basically means blue beam. It means like the sea spear. And there's other things too you can look into in this meaning, but like it seems like the main meaning is like this spear meaning. And then this is the one I was talking about with Macy's, where it's like, just look at these letters. It's crazy. I mean, you have like the O's forming the Vesica Pisces, which is a typical Mandela effect. And then these smaller letters that get really crazy if you look down here, like this celebration. Like, do you think like a Macy's Thanksgiving book from like the 80s or 90s would have the E smaller here over the L and the T giant? And like this is definitely Mandela affected in my opinion, but I haven't ever seen this book before, so I can't, tell you 100%. But I feel like I was, shown these things to show you guys. And interesting too, like when I first looked up the word Macy, the first meaning was this gift of God. So here we have the spear with the wish book, and then the gift of God. The Thanksgiving book and all that with the Vesica Pisces. This represents the North Pole center too. If you Check out my previous streams. I have a ton of stuff on the Vesca Pisces. And also, keep in mind this term weapon, because macy is kind of like a mace, which is also the spiked ball, which I've talked about a lot too. So it's a weapon, but a weapon can be used for good or evil. It can be used to protect or destroy. So here we have the book of Daniel. Oh, talking about the tree. This is the vision, I think, of Nebuchadnezzar, or his dream where he sees the tall tree reaching the skies. I talked about this before too, but it's just how this world tree is in the Bible as well. And this tree of life, this is also the blue beam, because the blue beam looks like a gigantic tree in the center of the world. And there also might actually be a giant tree that grows in the center of the blue beam too. But whether or not that's true, the blue beam itself is representative of a tree. So, like the Idrisil tree, this is the blue beam, the tree of life, of immortality. So, Close Encounters too, we got the road making the pyramid with the chopped down tree. When you see the dead tree or the skull island, this is when Lucifer, or Satan, runs the world. Um, because we're in like a world of like death and decay, and then when Jesus returns, we return to that world of life and energy and immortality and all that. Um, and this even looks just like the apex dome that the blue beam would be shooting up into. And here's another view of Close Encounters. This is also called Devil's Tower. So like Devil's Tower obviously is symbolic of this North Pole Tower. That's why they named it that. The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King here. Obviously, a ton of symbolism. You got the um, Saturn at tower at the top here, this North Pole dark tower. You got Aragorn being like the Jesus figure, or like the Christ in us figure, the return of the king, and Gandalf is like the more like the Holy Spirit, guiding force figure. And obviously there's a ton to get into with this. This is the blue beam sword, Sting. But what I showed you guys last time was at Gondor, which is where the king returns. This is the North Pole location where these paths make an X, and they have the dead tree in the center. So I'm going to be talking a lot about this tree island and tree mountain symbolism today, as well as the Mandela effect. Um, so here you could just see a better view of the X-shaped path here at the center. So you have the concentric circles, the X, the dead tree, and this is even like the sword or the spear, this shape here. So this is all symbolic of the North Pole. And actually, when you look at it from above too, you can see all the concentric circles. Uh, okay, and then the Book of Eli. I think a lot of you guys are familiar with this. Notice how he's sitting with his gun like this, but it kind of looks like a sword too, because his gun is similar to like Excalibur in this, and like in the Dark Tower. Roland, the hero, uses guns also, but his guns are like literally made from the steel of Excalibur. So oftentimes, any weapon can be kind of symbolic of that Excalibur weapon, which is the blue beam, basically. So Denzel and Mila Kunis, they're traveling together and they find this North Pole location. When you see like a tree standing in the middle of nowhere, or like a building in the middle of nowhere, like all on its own, or like an island in the middle of the water, this is and if it's a world script, media, which the Book of Eli definitely is, this is representative of the North Pole area again. So we have the house, this is like the castle, the tower, the house in the middle. So here we have like the tower, the A-shaped tower and the dead tree. So this is they're arriving at the North Pole, and this is also where the climax of the movie takes place. So they arrive at the North Pole, and it says, no trespassing. So the North Pole, which is like the camp of the saints, this is where there would be a barrier around it. So this is why there's no trespassing. But this is also in the land of the dead. Like the house is all broken down and all that. So they get to the North Pole Mountain basically, and they try to open the door, which is the gate. And instead of opening the door, there's a trap door under them, and they fall down. And this is what we typically see of the heroes. They have to fall down underneath, or go down, or walk down underneath the North Pole Mountain. So here they go down, and then they're trapped, and they're basically prisoners of these two old people who live there. And their names are actually George and Martha, which is very interesting. I don't want to get too into that. And I don't want to get too into this either, because it's just so many offshoots. And I'll talk about this again in the future for sure. But notice this gramophone. So when you see this kind of symbol, notice how it's like the cornucopia, like for the Fruit of the Loom Mandela effect, and for other Mandela effects. Like there's like the first Thanksgiving now no longer had a cornucopia on the table, which is another huge Mandela effect because I think everyone remembers the cornucopia being associated with Thanksgiving, and now there's no reason for that either. So the cornucopias and the seahorses also are being removed because both of those look like and symbolize our memory because they look like the hippocampus in our brain, and so do these gramophones. And like the new Twin Peaks season, I guess it's not that new anymore, but it came out in like 2017 or so. But that whole show revolved around having to remember something that was being played out of a gramophone. So the heroes in the Book of Eli, they have to go under the North Pole Mountain in order to regain this memory. Basically, this is what this is symbolizing, and they play music from here too. So that's them sitting there. So this movie Damsel, actually, I heard of it on Jay Dreamer's channel. He has a great video on this movie. I definitely recommend watching it. So these are some. She gets her father's sword. This is the Excalibur. She's the princess who has to go under the mountain and face the dragon and all these challenges and things. Here we see the left eye symbolism with the dragon and the eclipse and all that. And she, in the beginning of the movie, she thinks she's being married into this like royal family, and she's all excited about it. And it's also like up in the north. They talk about being far up in the north, and so she's like, thinks she thinks everything's great, but what they're actually going to do is sacrifice her. So the whole thing's like a sham, and these people are all wearing masks, like the eyes wide shut type of thing. And this is Robin Wright, and she's representative of like this like Saturn apex dome red plasma energy with the horns here. So this would be like, who's ruling the world right now. And then, the damsel, who's also Elle in Stranger Things, and in this movie her name is also Elodie, so she's always associated with this El name, which is the name for God. So she's going to be, who's ruling the world in the future, but she has to go through all these challenges in order to do that. So he says, I'm sorry, and she looks at him like, what are you sorry for? And then he throws her literally off this bridge down into the abyss, and she's doing like the Christ pose as she's falling, and then she's falling through all these tentacles representative of the kraken. These are like tree roots. And then when she falls, she's making the same pose that the guy made in The Incredibles, the father who I showed last time. And this is also associated with the dead tree. So she falls right next to the dead tree. So now she's at like the bottom of the North Pole, basically, and she's at the dead world tree. And when she's screaming for help because she still doesn't really know what's going on, she wakes up the dragon, and the dragon's eye opens, and this is the left eye of the dragon, and then it forms this Vesica Pisces eclipse shape that I've been talking about too. And this is like the Sauron eye also, like in Lord of the Rings. And here she is at the dead world tree. And what she has to do, she first ignites her own like fire, but then that fire goes out, and she has to take a leap of faith to get to this blue light, which is finding the blue beam, finding the truth under the North Pole Mountain. And this blue beam, it guides her to the truth, and it also heals her. It's like these little insects that glow blue, and they're healing her wounds. And then she takes this blue beam lantern, and she finds this map on the side of the wall, and this map tells her the truth of what's going on. And she sees like, okay, here's the dead tree, this is where she fell originally. Then she has to go through this bat cave, and notice I have like a ton of stuff about the bat symbolism. One of my videos is all about the bat if you want to check that out. But remember how the bat kind of started this whole thing off with like the CV stuff and all that. And then she gets to the water, and then when she goes up from there, there's three paths. So this is like the tree of life and the trident, and she has to go up the central path. And it's a little hard to see here, but this is a music note, so she has to hear the music up the central path. And then once she hears the music, she goes farther up, and then she gets to the crystal cave. And the crystal cave is representative of our pineal organ in our heads. And this is where we hear God's music or Satan's music, depending on which frequency we're tuned to. But of course, since she represents L and all that, she's tuned to God's frequency. And then I don't want to get too into this movie. I mean, there's a lot to get into, and definitely check out Jay's video on this. But when she goes up, there's a path out, but it's also like a false path because the dragon also guards that path. So in order to fully get out and to fully emerge victorious, her father has to come and sacrifice himself for her. So this is like God or Jesus's sacrifice for us. And then she picks up her father's sword, which is the Excalibur, and this is how she becomes like the full hero and able to essentially, take down the rulers of the world and become the new ruler of the world. And she also turns the dragon to her side, which is like us not abandoning our left pillar, but integrating it into us, but just not being ruled by that. But there's a lot to get into. I don't want to get too off track, but I just wanted to establish this, going under the mountain symbolism and all that. And so here we have the giver and the tree, of course. This is mostly about the tree stuff here, and I'll talk about Damsel again. I definitely recommend watching that movie. It's not like like one of my favorite movies or anything, but if you're into this world script symbolism, it's extremely important because it's like every beat of the movie is like something about the world script. Like it's like that's why that whole movie just came out. It's information for us to understand. But of course, most people who watch it have no idea what they're watching. So this movie, The Giver, or it's also a book, of course. A lot of these movies are books too, so that they reach people in different ways, But of course, you have like the dome symbolism, the mirror symbolism, the eye. There's a ton of stuff. Let's see, the bike symbolism. Here we have the dome, the eclipse, and this is basically the main character represents us, of course, and Jeff Bridges is like the god character imparting these memories to the hero so that he can become an evolved person and understand what's going on in the world and help save the world. So he takes his bike, which represents the eclipse, as we've talked about, past this pole. So here he's going to the North Pole location. Whenever you see like a lone, like lamppost or pole or something, that represents the North Pole too, of course. And then this building in the middle of nowhere is representative of the North Pole Mountain. So you have like the pyramidal capstone on the top, and you have these twin pillars also. And he goes into the left pillar. Notice, and interesting too, the left pillar is a little bit taller than the right pillar, and if you look at these like the twin towers, this would be the North Tower, this would be the South Tower. And Hazel Fiverr actually just released a video. Honestly, it's kind of weird. I'm not sure about the Mandela effect myself, but other people are, and he is that now the this right tower, even though they're both 110 stories or were, the right tower is now 6 feet shorter than the left tower, and I don't remember that, but I also don't know for certain. But that's interesting too. It seems like the south right tower is a little bit shorter than the left tower. So he enters the left pillar anyway. He goes into this concentric circle or concentric gateway, and here he gets to the Star of Bethlehem shaped down the spiral staircase. So he has to go under the mountain to learn the truth from this God character. So like we have to go under the North Pole Mountain to learn the truth. That's one of the biggest messages. And then when he gets there, this is, I think, before he meets Jeff Bridges, he notices this tree out in the middle of nowhere in the mist. So this is the world tree that he's seeing. And then they speak to each other under the dome. And this is where the God character imparts his knowledge and wisdom and memories to the hero. And here you can see from the outside. So this is the building he went into. And then he goes down here, and this is that dome window. And you can see how this whole, when you see these cliffs too, cliffs are representative of this North Pole mountain because it's so steep, and also this mist and clouds. And I showed this too previously. This is Jerry Bruckheimer's logo when he starts his productions. Like when you see a Jerry Bruckheimer movie, I think it was National Treasure that this is from. But he's got the pyramidal road like we saw with those posters, and then the plasma lightning, and then the dead tree standing in the middle of nowhere, and then the plasma hits the tree and it becomes the tree of life. So this is like the world that we're in now, and then this is the plasma apocalypse essentially, and then this is the world of the living. And in this is the second Chronicles of Narnia movie. I think there's likely some Mandela affecting going on here with the R's at least, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But here's the Jesus character essentially with the sword, and this is of course the major Jesus God character, the lion. And these movies are obviously filled with stuff, but at the end of the movie, they show the North Pole Castle, and here's like the camp of the saints, and here's the world tree in the center, and they're all standing at this world tree, and this is after the heroes have won. And this is basically like the camp of the saints, and the lion, who's basically the God or Jesus character, he's saying, Anyone who wants to go back to their original land, um, he's actually saying that your ancestors were pirates, and this is something that Jay's talked about a lot too, where the pirates represent the people of this original mountain because pirate the word pirate relates to like the pyramid and like the fire within the mountain and all that, and also the skull and crossbones, which represents the North Pole too. So basically, he's saying, who wants to go to the North Pole paradise? The people who also found the cave that brought them here. And these people say yes. So he says, since you were the first to say yes, you're going to be blessed when you get to this location. And this tree starts to open up like a Vesica Pisces portal. So it's a portal tree. And the reason that we see a lot of trees being portals in these movies and stories and things is because it represents this central portal at the central pillar location. Let's see, and then they go through this portal. And if you just look up Portal Tree, tons of things come up. I haven't ever played Minecraft, but it's definitely one of the biggest things in the last 10 years. And there's apparently a Portal Tree that's associated with Minecraft, and of course, it's like this um, tree of life Yggdrasil diagram for like the Nordic mythology. So like we're down here under the North Pole Mountain in this maze by the roots of the tree, and when we get out, at this would be on the left side, this is where the gate is, and this is like the rainbow bridge to the top of the mountain. So this is like the door that the guy in The Giver was going through. And I saw this too at Joshua Tree National Park. Um, so Joshua, the name means Yahweh is salvation and God is deliverance, and it's tied to Jesus, of course, and Yehoshua. And they put this disgusting hell like portal in Joshua Tree to apparently promote like some video game. But what they're doing is putting a demonic portal at a North Pole symbolic location, because the people running this world are evil. They work for Satan, so they want to corrupt these North Pole locations, and put this negative symbolism out wherever they can. And they also did this in New York, if you remember. In New York, the name York means yew tree, and the Yggdrasil tree is known as an ash tree or a yew tree, which both symbolize everlasting life and death and resurrection and all that. And in New York a few years ago, they put up this portal to Dublin. So New York would be kind of obvious. It's like, well, but why would they choose Dublin? They could choose like anywhere in the world. And this is what it looked like. And this is from a previous video of mine where I ask, you may have wondered why they chose to open the portal to Dublin. So they have this New York, North Pole location, and it opens to Dublin because the name Dublin means black pool. So this is like the black goo abyss symbolism. And here you see Dublin means black pool. So this is the same thing as what they did in Joshua Tree. They're putting these dark black portals at these North Pole locations because, however, their black magic works, it's putting that negativity into the world and perhaps influencing the people that are at these locations and see this stuff who don't know what they're looking at. All right, so now I'm gonna get into the presentation proper, but let me check out the chat. Sorry, I haven't been checking in on you guys. Hey, Donut, good to see you. Good to see you guys. A lot of people in chat. Oh, is Voy here? Voy's awesome. Yeah, definitely check out Voy's channel too. What's up, guys? Yanni, good to see you. Steve, good to see you. Hey, Call for Zero. What's up, man? Yeah, check out Call for Zero's channel too. All right, guys. I'll get back into this. So this is gonna be like really, really if I mean, like, obviously you could disagree with what I'm about to say, but if you are, seeing what I'm about to say, I mean, this is gonna be really incredible. I don't it's kind of like I'm at a loss for words to describe how incredible this is. So a big Mandela effect is with Charles Lindbergh, and the way I remember it is that Charles Lindbergh's baby was kidnapped, and it was known as the Lindbergh baby, and it was like one of the biggest mysteries, and no one ever knew what happened to it. But now the official story is that the baby was found, and unfortunately, it was found dead, which I'll get into later. But for now, let's just focus on this lost child being found of Charles Lindbergh. So that's a huge Mandela effect. There's a ton of residue for this. So if you want to check out some of the Mandela effect channels, I forget like who has videos on it, but definitely some of those channels have videos on this if you want to look into it on your own if you're just hearing about this, for the first time. Um, but Charles Lindbergh's missing child was now found, and the name Charles means free man, and the name Lindbergh means tree mountain. So the lost child of the free man from paradise, from the tree mountain at the North Pole, has been found. So basically, what this is Charles Lindbergh is representative of Jesus, and he's found us in this world of the dead. We're like the lost children, and even though the baby was found dead physically, when you see death in all this symbolism, it's about spiritual death. So we were definitely all found, not physically dead, but spiritually dead. And this is when Jesus, saves us and makes us spiritually alive again. So it's a really, really powerful message, in my opinion. And here's Charles meaning Freeman. Here's Lindbergh meaning Tree Mountain, and even it's even more specific to linden or lime tree. So lime is like the green tree. So again, with this green symbolism with the North Pole, Tree Mountain, and also, like, this is the, Mount of Olives, like, from the Bible. So, like, the Mount of Olives got split, so this is that split mountain, symbolism because that central mountain area is a volcano for this blue beam plasma that's gonna be shooting out of it. And this is where it gets even more incredible. This ties into The Shawshank Redemption, another, Stephen King story, and this is directed by Frank Darabont. And it's also so this movie was produced by Castle Rock. So this movie is basically produced by the North Pole Mountain, and the name Shawshank means the woods on the pointed hill. So it's basically saying the name of this story is basically the Tree Mountain Redemption. And this is the same thing as the Mandela effect with Charles Lindbergh's baby. And Andy, I've talked about how they're basically the right pillar and the left pillar of the same person, but you could also look at Andy as the Jesus character who's come into this prison world to save Red, and Red represents us. He's like the spiritually dead, the spiritually fallen guy who just is planning on staying in prison for the rest of his life because he's in love with the physical world and he just doesn't care about anything else. But then when Andy gets there, Andy injects all this life and energy into Red and actually convinces him to go along with him and to eventually get to paradise and to break out of this prison or to get out of the prison. And he even says, like, I didn't expect the storm to last this long. Again, with the storm symbolism, I put out a short about how they constantly talk about the storm and that there's a storm coming and all that. And that's not something to be afraid of. I'm looking forward to it. I guess like some people get fear out of that, but we should be having faith, not fear. So the name Andy Dufresne, if you look it up, it means the brave man from the prominent ash tree. So this is like the phoenix. So he's basically Jesus, like the brave one from this North Pole tree mountain. And here we see Shawshank, the wooded area on the hill. You could look up all this stuff on your own, and sometimes these definitions change too a little bit, which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. Andy means brave, basically strong. And, when I first looked this one up, it said, from the prominent ash tree, but now they took the word prominent out. So now it's just the ash tree, which is still the same significance, but it definitely had that word prominent in there. I remember that. So they do change their things, but this is also the AI overview thing. So I mean, it definitely changes here and there. It's not like a specific, group of sentences or something. So yeah, here we have Andy Dufresne. So Red doesn't realize it yet at this time, but Andy is there to save him, and Andy doesn't even realize it either at this time. But Andy's also teaching Red how to play chess, and chess is something that comes up in a lot of these stories too. I'll talk about that in the future, though. But he teaches Red to play chess and ignites a spiritual spark in him that Red didn't even know was there. Let's see. And Andy's spirit is so bright, he convinced his best friend Red to share his dream. So you could see this as Jesus pulling us out of this prison world of the dead. You could also see it as our right pillar being strong and bright to the point where it overwhelms our left pillar, so that our left pillar finally just kind of concedes and is like, okay, I'll go along with with the path to paradise instead of just always being, a destructive jerk. So the name red, and actually the left pillar is the red pillar, and then the right pillar would be the green pillar, and then the central pillar would be where we have that yellow, blue, and white coloring. So red would be like the left pillar. He was also a murderer, which is the left pillar. The left pillar is like the wolf that wants to kill the lamb, which is the right pillar. I've talked about that a lot too. Um, so he loved only the physical world. He called himself institutionalized. And here he was told by Andy to go to this giant tree mountain. This represents him going to the North Pole, this giant tree in the middle of nowhere. And he is told to pull out the black rock that doesn't belong there. And under the black rock, he finds the Titanic box. So he resurrects the Titanic, which represents the left pillar and this North Pole mountain too. So this is him kind of like going under the mountain, like we talked about, to get to the truth. And this is also the rebirth and phoenix symbolism. Here's the Titanic, and well, I don't show it, but inside of here, there's basically a note for the truth. Like he basically says something like, you know, do you remember what I told you? So it's all about this memory from Jesus. It's like, and then he remembers the name of the place where he has to go, which is that Zehuatanejo island in Mexico, I think. And here's Andy. So the prison warden is the devil who runs the world or runs the physical world. He runs the prison, and despite him having power over Andy in the physical world, the brave man stayed several moves ahead of the devil and won the spiritual chess game in the end. And he takes the straight and narrow path out, even though it's horrible and difficult to do. And this is like a sewage pipe he has to crawl through, which is basically what we've been doing on a symbolic level. And then when he gets out, he's in the rain, the cleansing rain. He's in the storm. So this all happens during the storm, and then he's cleansed, and he's doing the Christ pose. So he's broken free of this prison, and now he can go to paradise. And then later, Red follows him to Zehuatanejo. And if you look up what this means, it means the land of the goddess women, which is Amazonia, which is another symbol for the North Pole. This is that feminine energy. And this is also why like Wonder Woman is from the North Pole, because she's like from the Isle of the Amazonians. It's not in like South America like the Amazon rainforest. This is all symbolic of the North Pole. And then when Red finally gets there, he sees Andy on his blue and yellow vessel, and the right and left pillar, or you could say Jesus and us, meet in paradise on the blue and yellow vessel. It's really a beautiful. It's beautiful. Like I don't know how to. It's like I said, I'm kind of at a loss for words for how incredible these connections are, and then tie this back to this Mandela effect for Charles Lindbergh. So the free man from Tree Mountain, this is like Andy Dufresne. He found, or his lost child was now found. All right, so now we'll be getting into some of these people call them lambda or upside down V Mandela effects. So Kia, this is 100% one for me. It definitely used to look like this. And actually, I would say that these left points here weren't there either. But the person who put this together is just talking about this crossbar on the A. So this is what the logo became. And then they actually had to change their logo in the future because this looks so ridiculous. And I'll get into what this all means too, but I'm just saying that, we're going to transition here to showing a bunch of like lambda changes, but I think there's another hidden meaning to these changes because if you notice, it looks like a mountain. And I think this lambda symbol, if you go back to like the original glyph character of what this represents, like if you were talking to someone in another country and you didn't speak the same language and you guys just couldn't get on the same page with anything, if one of you showed the other person like a map or something with like a couple of these on it, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's like, okay, that's a mountain range, um and here we see in the Greek alphabet, though, and the Greek alphabet is certainly important. And actually, another friend of mine, Andrew Bakanov, he has a lot of interesting content on these Greek connections. So definitely check his channel out too. And he talks a lot about the gematria and the Greek letters and how they refer to the Mandela effect. I kind of go in like a different direction with this because I think it more so focuses on the mountain symbolism, but this is definitely important too. And notice how it has the word lamb in it, because we're basically talking about the lamb and the wolf meeting at the central North Pole location. And you could even break it down even further too, like, so you have, like, the lamb, which is like the lamp, and then the D, which is like the door, and then the A, which is like the, capstone or the third eye. So it's very interesting. You know, you could break these things down as far as you'd like, and it all still amounts to the same story and explanation and things. And this name, Sam, is tied to this mountain too, like in this logo for Samsung, which this is another 100% Mandela effect for sure for me. So it's like, so the name Sam, do I have it? So yeah, the name Sam means God has heard, or the name of God. So it's like saying God sung from the mountain. And then we're listening to this music from God, which is what I was talking about earlier with that damsel movie. And there's like a ton of other things too that have the exact same symbolism too, where we need to listen to God's music or his voice. And this will lead us to these understandings and eventually to paradise. So this is the lambda. This is like what I was saying. Like if you just put these on a map, you know, it's a mountain range. So lambda is the 11th Greek letter, and it has a value of 30. So here you have like you know, the 311, like the 33 type symbolism. The name Sam actually equals 33, and Rupus Nigra, the Black Rock Mountain, is said to be 33 miles wide. So interesting with these 33 connections, because 3 is also like the I would say the right pillar or the Jesus number, whereas 6 is like the left pillar or the Lucifer number, and then God, as I've talked about too, would be the 9 at the top. And I've talked about that in previous videos. I don't want to get too off track. So here's this is a clip from a previous video, and I'll talk about these specifically. But here we have like the Saturn logo, Independence Day, the movie, and I'll show this too. I think I'll show all these in the future. It resembles lambda, but the symbol has been something else. Okay, so here's like the mountain, the split mountain. This is in the King Kong movie. These are like just screenshots from my previous videos. So here, Saturn. So Saturn, you have like the Chronos symbolism, the time. This was another Mandela effect too from Casablanca, where the character Sam um, played as time goes by, and the woman in the movie, Ingrid Bergman, she asks him to play. She used to ask him to play it again, Sam, but now she says something like "play it once, Sam," or something like that. So here again with this Sam connection with time and all that. And this logo is just absolutely 100% Mandela affected. The A definitely had a crossbar, so now this is the mountain symbolism. And I'm not 100% sure what to make of this yet, but the U and the R were not merged together like this either. But for now, we'll just talk about the mountain. And Saturn is like, if you look at the tree of life with the planets, it's at the top left of the like the top left of the left pillar. But it's also what would be basically ruling the world now. And representative of that, like apex dome, or like the eye in the sky, or the red plasma that's like, you know, guarding the entrance to the Garden of Eden, which is why no one can access it. So here we have Viacom. I mentioned this briefly too, but this name basically means video and audio communication from the mountain. So now this A doesn't have the crossbar; it's just the mountain symbol. And yeah, Viacom means video and audio communications. So here's another one too. Cliffs notes. Um, I mean, these used to be Cliff Notes, but now it's, you know, Cliff's Notes. So I took this to mean like music notes. So like this message in the Mandela effect is like the music from the mountain. And same thing with Cliff Bar. The Cliff Bars used to have an extra F here, but now they don't. And I'm not 100% sure about that, but the letter F is the sixth letter, so it could be like saying taking the sixth, you know, out of it. And a bar is like a music bar. So here we have like the music notes from the mountain, and here we have the music bars from the mountain. So I think this is all about the music from the mountain. And E.F. Hutton uh, changed its um, what do you call it? Like its catchphrase, or its like it's when it aired commercials. Kind of forgetting the word. I'm a little caught for words at the moment. What is this called? I can't think of it right now. But anyway, this is like E.F. Hutton's, it's a like when E.F. Hutton now it's when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen, but it was, when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. It's between speaks and talks. I think Moneybagg 73 has a great video on this one. This one's not a huge one for me, but, I did remember it the way that he was saying it, but, definitely, so EF would be like the electric field, and then the name Hutton means mighty cliff. So it's like when the, electric field from the mighty cliff or the mountain speaks or talks, people listen. So I think that's the message there. Sorry, I didn't explain it too well, but here you could see, Hutton is, a settlement on the ridge or the hill enclosure. So these would be like North Pole symbols. And, this one just isn't a huge Mandela effect for me personally, so, it's a little tough to explain them when they're not, like, 100% ones for you. And also it's just a lot to keep in in my head at the same time. Also when I was noticing this, Mario movie, this is the Japanese version of the Mario movie, and I talked about this before too. I don't wanna get too into the symbolism here, but there's a lot of symbolism going on. But I noticed this company, so I can't say this is 100% Mandela effect, but the company that like, people just had, like, these photos in, like, the eBay listing or whatever it was. So the production company or the distribution company for this, Mario movie in Japan is called Herald, and it's just interesting because the R and the A are connected, which is another huge, um, pattern of the Mandela effect, and then the A is missing the crossbar, and I just find that really strange. Like, I bet these were separated and this had a crossbar, and you can see how it's weird here too. And here, Herald, it's spelled with a normal A, and Herald, it's like, heralding, like a good newspaper should be a herald of truth, like that, like the mountain is like heralding what's to come, basically. One who proclaims, that type of if that is a Mandela effect, but that's not like 100%er for me. But yeah, voice a herald for sure. The name Kia it means hill or mountain. This was when I first looked it up, but now when I looked it up, the messaging changed a little bit, so you could still see how it means mountain or a pillar, but I didn't see this the first time I looked it up, but, it means like, anointed or follower of Christ. So, very interesting symbolism there, of course, and this is a 100% Mandela effect. I know for a fact this had a crossbar. And, the island, so, this one I'm not gonna go 100% on, but I don't remember it being this way. And, you know, th just the island mountain, I mean, it's pretty plain right there. I mean, there's a lot you can look into, and there's also other logos for the island that don't have, this particular mountain, and I've shown that before too. It's just a lot to go over, but obviously, here we have the island mountain symbolism, and even if it isn't a Mandela effect, and I do think it is, but still, this is by, Michael Bay, this is by the people who, this world and who know this world script, so they would be, putting this, mountain symbolism into this island movie with this lambda symbol. Because why would you do this? Like, you want people to be able to read, the logo. This isn't a letter. Um, the Indian company, Tata Motors, I can't, necessarily say this is 100% Mandela effect, but it does seem that way, but I had never heard of this company before, but, these apparently used to have crossbars, and there is some good evidence for this. I think Moneybags has a good video on it, but in Indian, Tata means father. So it's almost like, you're like, God being one father, and then how Jesus says, like, "You're of your father, the devil," so perhaps it's like that, where there's like 2 choices, we could hear God's music or Satan's music, that type of thing. So here you see the name Tata means father or grandfather. Mont Blanc, I can't like 100% say this one either. It's not a big one for me, but it seems to be a big for a lot of people. So Mont Blanc, this is a French company that makes like high end like pens and watches and things, I think. And this used to have a crossbar, and Mont Blanc, it's the tallest mountain in France, but it also translates to White Mountain. So here you see White Mountain. And also, it's the tallest mountain in the area of the language that it's in. So it represents the tallest mountain and the White Mountain. So right now we're being ruled by the Black Mountain, and this will likely switch to being a White Mountain when Jesus returns. I think as Jay Dreamer says, there's like a coating or something on the outside of the mountain that makes it black. And when the blue beam shoots up, that coating is going to go away and it'll likely be white or like silvery perhaps. So here's this is an anime I've actually never seen, but I had seen the logo and I don't remember it being like this. So it's like this A. I mean, it had a crossbar, and it's likely there's other Mandela effects going on here too with the T. This is a common Mandela effect where the T only has one half of the crossbar. But anyway, if this is a Mandela effect, again, it's relating to the sword. So this is the sword and the stone, the Excalibur, the blue beam that shoots out of the mountain. And this is also about people. I haven't seen this, like I said, but I'm pretty sure it's about characters like going into like a matrixy type of world, or like Ready Player One type of thing, where they go into like a video game world. So that's interesting too, because that comes up a lot where people are living in like a fantasy fake world, and the Mandela effect is basically proving that this world is fake to some degree, because if it was real in the way that we're taught that it's real, then physical reality shouldn't be able to be changed like that. But it certainly is. Like, I can't 100% say this is a change, but I I do know 100% that a lot of these other ones are changes. So this one, I do know this one is 100% change also for me. I understand a lot of people won't know this movie, but, I have this, VHS tape. I had it a long time ago, and it definitely did not have the A's like this. So it's an interesting message, good guys wear black. Does this mean that the good guys, go under the black rock, perhaps, or inside of the black rock, perhaps? Like Jesus, the blue beam energy is basically charging under and inside that black rock. So is that perhaps what it means? I don't know. But it's also starring Chuck Norris. So Chuck is short for Charles, which is the free man, and then Norris is the North. So this is basically the free man from the North, and then with this mountain symbolism again. And look how crazy this looks. Like, there's no way the side of the state. This is like a Chuck Norris movie from like the early 1980s. Like, zero chance they would ever make the A's look like this. And like I said, I know for a fact that it changed. And actually, the quotes didn't look like this either. The quotes were like separate quotes, like you would expect. So this is also part of the message. I'm not sure what it means, but it's definitely a change. It's part of the change. And this is a crazy looking poster, but I know for a fact 100% that this name changed also. So, this is like I've never seen this either. This is some kind of horror movie, but for people who don't know, if this is your first video, I have, like a side business where I sell old media. So I just have like tons of like VHS tapes and posters and laser discs and DVDs and things like that. I've seen this many times, and this did not look like this. So, um, these 3 A's were all changed, so here we have, like, 3 mountains, and this R is longer too, and notice how it's like the R into the A, like I was talking about, and it also makes, like, an X too, like, for the North Pole. A new look at terror too. I mean, it is a horror movie, and this is, of course, the all-seeing eye and all that, and, Cassandra can see the future, you may not want to. Um, so the name Cassandra, if you look up what it means shining upon man or helper of men. And I'm gonna get into a little bit about this all-seeing eye, symbolism too here. And also too, like, just the way the eye is framed, like, seeing the whites of the eyes, I understand that that's like a demonic thing, but it's also kinda like dome, like concentric dome circle imagery too. It's interesting. Um, and this is another one that kinda has a similar feel to it, and I know 100% that this changed as well. So here we have, like, this all-seeing eye, and, star crystal. So the word star and the word crystal are both huge Mandela effect keywords and world script keywords. And I'll get into this a little bit later too, but I just wanted to show you guys like this 100% changed as far as I'm concerned. Like I had this tape a long time ago. It did not have the A's looking like this at all. Like look how crazy that looks. There's no reason for them to do this. This is a movie from like the late 80s. Like why would you do that? And I know that it wasn't like that. So here's another, this is like a foreign release, so you could see the people in the crystal with the kraken like tentacles around them, kind of. And I think this is likely a change too, even though I wasn't familiar with this foreign cover. But the A is leaning in a certain direction. That's a typical Mandela effect. And here you can see the R too is a little bit extended. this wasn't the way, things were made, and here you can see this R, isn't extended, so this one would just look like this one, and the A's likely weren't pointed to the right. I can't say 100%, but, this is, a common pattern as well. And, this likely changed too, even though I can't say. This is just another cover for a star crystal. It's, similar to Life Force too, with the people in the cocoons and all that. So this is all stuff, you can look at on your own. And also, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I think like these R's didn't have this big gap. That would be my guess, but I don't see anything else that I would really point out. But this could also change in the future too, which is another reason why I wanted to bring to people's attention. So this is another, creepy looking cover with the all-seeing eye, and this one I'm also not 100%. I'm 100% sure on Star Crystal and Cassandra, but this one I hadn't seen before, so I can't say. But it's very suspicious because it has the all-seeing eye, and here we have the A. Like, why would you have the first letter? Like, this is just some random horror movie that like pretty much no one has ever heard of. So why would you have the first letter be something that you can't even really read? And then the O being small too. This is common too, where O's are either smaller or bigger. And I think this has to do with whether things are good or bad. So here we have the mountain, and being like alone is a bad place to be. And the O being smaller would be representative of like the smaller portal, or like the little crown, like the basically the Antichrist way of things. And here you can see, like in Paperboy, this all merged together. And I talked about this before too, but the O got bigger. And I think it's because paper is a good symbol. So paper here symbolizes new beginnings, knowledge, communication. And then like Hellboy, I think the O got smaller, because this would be like a negative thing. So like Paperboy would be a good thing, Hellboy would be a bad thing. And whether, if you're a woman listening to this, it's all representative of us. It's not about the gender of it. So here you can see the logo. Um, I think this is merged together. This is from the movie, I think, and then the O is definitely smaller. It wasn't like that, and I don't remember like the E being weird like this too. Like I think there's some other changes going on. And in this movie, Hellboy, where does it start out? It starts out at the North Pole Mountain. So here we have the North Pole Mountain just in the middle of nowhere. This is the very first thing that they show you in the movie. And here, then they show you the storm and the dome, and then these guys walking through this graveyard, and they see, Jesus on the cross. So here more, North Pole Jesus symbolism. And they're walking through this area looking for the Germans. This is like a World War II thing going on. And this guy is basically saying, there's nothing but rocks here. And then this guy who's like us, he can like see things. He says, no, it's not rocks, it's ruins. So this is basically like what the melted building channels have been trying to tell people, is that like all these rocks and things around us, they're ruins. They're not just like rocks that were made, to be rocks. They're ruins, they're, old petrifications of things, they're things from a time in the past that weren't just rocks. And the Germans know that, and they're at this North Pole location. And here's the dead tree at the North Pole location. Here's the wheels within wheels and the plasma, and this Rasputin character is standing right next to this, dead world tree, and he's opening a portal with this wheels within wheels, like the Ezekiel's wheels. Then the portal opens, and this light pillar gets sucked out into space, and it shows this giant kraken entity. I think these are like multiple krakens, but it's like a giant kraken entity with all these tentacles out in space. But this is also representative. It's representative of the space outside of the dome. And in terms of their like black magic and all that, it's representative of our inner space as well. They want to put the kraken into our inner space. So going back to this alone video, just one second. So going back to this alone one. Okay, so I think I'll talk about the all-seeing eye here. So we have this alone, this Cassandra, and this star crystal, and this all-seeing eye and the dollar. Now, I'm not saying this is good. I think they put So basically, in my opinion, the all-seeing eye, this pyramidal capstone thing, is a symbol for God. But what they're doing in their devilish way is putting this symbol for God on the money so that people think of the money as their God. So, like in God we trust and all that, it's because they're using their black magic to make people, you know, go away from the real God and have the money be their God. But it doesn't necessarily mean that this symbol in and of itself is bad. I think all these symbols can be used for good or evil, and I think that this is a symbol for God. And here we have in the movie They Live, which you guys are probably familiar with. By the way, this is a Mandela effect too. It used to have an exclamation point at the end of live, but now it's just like a statement like they live. And it's basically a bunch of shapeshifters or people in this world who aren't who they claim to be. And when the main character, Roddy Piper, puts these sunglasses on, he's able to see the world for what it is. And when he sees this guy holding his money, it says, "This is your God." So again, with that same, John Carpenter is telling you that this is what they've set up for people to have money be their God. And unfortunately, like I know people who, their God is definitely money. They don't care about any of this stuff. They don't care about spirituality or anything like that. They just care about money and what money can get them. And I saw this too when I was just looking up some clips for this or some images on Google. And someone says, or like in Luke, it says, where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. So if your treasure is just these dollars, that's where your heart is. But we need to be storing our treasure in heaven or in paradise. And this is the first thing they show you in They Live with this like graffiti scene. And there's a lot that that's interesting about this, but right in the center they have the needle. Interestingly enough, because this movie is not about the needle, but it really is if you think about it, and they're showing you that it is because all these phonies in our world that this is like their number one objective is to get the needle into us. And the needle is also a symbol too, like any other symbol, like the all-seeing eye, where it could be good or evil, because the blue beam is like the ultimate needle, and that's good. It's returning life and truth and our memories of the old world to us via Jesus. And so here, this one I can't claim 100%, but it certainly looks Mandela affected to me. And this again harkens to the Olympic Mountain. This also is kind of like the MM, but this IA is very strange. And also, it's interesting too. It was in Columbus because of all the Columbia connections. And this also is there was also the bodybuilder Franco Colombo, who I talked about too, but his name changed to Columbu. So again, with this Columbia symbolism. And there's a lot of Columbia related changes, like this Columbia House logo. This definitely changed. Like the C wasn't like this over the O and connected to the H. And then notice too, it reminded me of the Olympic or Olympia logo, where the I was merged into the A and it didn't have a crossbar. So see how similar that is. And like the R merged into the dot here. Like this is just too strange. But this is a 100% Mandela effect for me. So that leads me to believe that this is likely one too. And I was just randomly shown this. I wasn't looking this up or anything. Like I don't even know hardly. All I know about the bodybuilders is Arnold and Franco Colombo. I know that his name was Colombo because I always liked Arnold, but yeah, Columbu just sounds totally ridiculous. And here you can see like an old catalog um, for Columbia House. So it shows you that the logo back in the 90s looked like this, and it definitely didn't look like that. It looks crazy. I remember getting these, catalogs when I was like a teenager. So here's another mountain related Mandela effect. This is Stouffer's stovetop, which pretty much everyone remembers. Like this is one of the biggest Mandela effects to tell people. Just ask people, who makes stovetop stuffing, and almost everyone's going to tell you Stouffer's. But now that never happened. It's always been Kraft. Um, and if you look up the name Stouffer's or Stouffer, it means the steep hill or the mountain, like the name like Hutton and a bunch of other names. So I think what this is saying is, the Stouffer, the steep hill or mountain, was removed from the stovetop. So when our world turns into a stovetop during Armageddon, the people at the mountain will be spared. They're not going to be part of it. Just one second. And also interesting too that the craft was put into the stovetop. So I mean, you could look at this like the word craft doesn't necessarily have to be bad, but it is red and black coloring, which is interesting. That's generally bad. Um, but you could think of it like the witchcraft too, perhaps. Like, so the people at the mountain were taken out of the stovetop, and then the craft are put into the stovetop. So pretty interesting possible symbolism there. And you can think of it too, like this. Like, I'm not saying this is an exact map of the world, but if you think of similar to this, then the people at this central highest mountain would be protected, and then the rest of the world would be undergoing this, great reset, plasma apocalypse, Armageddon, where everyone's, you know, getting petrified and all kinds of crazy, mythological beasts and things are all over the place, and just it's going to be like mayhem basically. And this is like actually an interesting scene. You could see this in my videos from a while ago. But this comedian Kevin James, he's on Jimmy Fallon's show, and they're talking about Thanksgiving, and he literally says Stouffer's stovetop stuffing like a bunch of times, and he's like, the people they go to the Stouffer's factory, and it says like Stouffer's over the top, and he just keeps saying Stouffer's, and that never existed. There was never any such thing as Stouffer's stovetop stuffing, and I clearly remember that, and so does pretty much everyone I've ever talked to about it. So yeah, no, Stouffer's stovetop never existed. It's kind of funny face. But yeah, Stouffer, someone living near a steep hill or a conical peak. It's like a pyramid. Independence Day is another big one. Do I have the okay? So this definitely was not like this. I had this on VHS, back when I was a teenager or whatever, and this definitely was not like this. It had a crossbar. So Independence Day is when the blue beam fires. And also the word independence is a Mandela effect too. It used to be DANCE, like dance, but now it's dense, like DENCE. So that's another part of the Mandela effect for this. Our Independence Day is when we reach the top of this mountain, like the Yggdrasil tree Nordic diagram. And on the cover for Independence Day, they basically show the White House. This would be like the North Pole mountain location, shooting the blue beam up into this apex dome. This is Independence Day for God's people. And this is an interesting one too, brought to my attention by Blue Pac-Man 13. And so notice how the word vault does have the crossbar. Now, I didn't witness this myself, but apparently this logo lost the crossbar and then it regained the crossbar. So there are a number of Mandela effects that people call flip flops. I like to call them resets, frankly. But either way, it changed to one thing and then changed back to another thing. And the vault is very interesting too because that relates to the vault at this North Pole mountain where like the gold is stored or whatever. And you could also say perhaps the vault goes away and then comes back or something along those lines. That's why it flip flopped. And it's also made by the North Face company. And I remember this logo. I'm not 100% on it, but I don't remember it having the word the. I know that, like, it lines up perfectly with these, arcs, but I remember this top arc going to nothing, and it just saying North Face. So for me, this is a Mandela effect, but it's not like a super clear 100% one, but I do remember it like that, and it also relates to the North, of course, the North Mountain. So this one's definitely one. This song sounds ridiculous now. So here we have U2. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. This is like us. We're looking for something that isn't in this physical world. And the album is actually called The Joshua Tree or Joshua Tree. And the production company is called The Island. I mean, do you guys like this is like so crazy. Like it's just like how much confirmation do you need? But this used to be, I have climbed the highest mountains, to search for what he's looking for. But now, if you listen to the song, it's I have climbed highest mountain. So, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. It's not even close to proper English. And if this is 100% change for me, I think Moneybags and some other people have videos on this one. And just again, I've climbed the highest mountain, and you've got highest mountain, Joshua Tree Island, even perhaps you too. and this is John Denver, a song called "Rocky Mountain High." So again, with the high mountain, and in the song, I think I saw this on maybe it's Mandela's channel. The lyrics are, "He was born again. He found the key to every door." And there's some changing going on here. It's been a while since I looked at this one, and this isn't a man like I've never heard this. I think I'd probably heard the song, but I didn't know it well enough to know the Mandela effect. But again, a lot going on here, and you could research this for yourself. Gonna So this is Stevie Wonder, "Higher Ground." I'm gonna keep on trying till I reach the higher ground, and now it's gonna keep on trying till I reach my highest ground. This isn't like 100% for me, but it's definitely a Mandela effect for me. It wasn't until I reached my highest ground. And this song I didn't know about either. I think I probably saw it on maybe it's Mandela's channel. But this is Vince Gill, and the song is called "Go Rest High on That Mountain." And the lyrics are, "Go to heaven a shouting." Uh, I think it used to be before the Father and the Son, but now it's love for the Father and the Son. So the Father would be up in the apex dome, and the Son would be the blue beam, or the Father would be God, and the Son would be Jesus, obviously. But very interesting with all this same high mountain symbolism. And I think the Target logo also reflects this. This one's 100% Mandela effect for me. The Target logo was this for me, but now it looks like this, which more closely resembles the concentric circles at the North Pole Central Island. And this is our target. Also, the Smoky Mountains changed. This is 100% Mandela effect for me. I've never seen the word smoky spelled without an E, but now it's Smoky if you look it up. And the Smoky Mountains is like the North Pole Mountain, um, because of the mist and smoke that's surrounding it. And there's other things to get into too with the smoke, but I don't want to get into that here because it's already too much stuff to talk about. I'm kind of losing my voice already. So, but here you can see in the Bible they talk about smoke a lot. The temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and His power. And here we have the "America the Beautiful" song, where they used to say, um, "Purple Mountain's Majesty." And you can relate this to these chakra colors, where red would be at the bottom and the purple violet color would be at the top. And now it's "Purple Mountain Majesties." And I definitely don't remember it being Majesties like that. It was Purple Mountain's Majesty, and now it's Purple Mountain Majesties. And you guys might not be able to see some of these, but it's a good reason to go back and check out my previous videos where I talk about all these because I mean, if you're interested in this, I definitely recommend it. I mean, you can't really see enough stuff until you. I mean, there's not really much more incredible stuff than our physical reality, being altered all around us. It's definitely worth looking into, in my opinion. And there's a ton of rainbow changes also. So now there's rainbow mountains in several places, but particularly in China and Peru. And here's some images. You can check all this out for yourself. And China also has over 100 pyramids, or basically, I mean, I don't remember hearing about pyramids in China much. There's like pyramids all over China, and this is something you could research. I think Hazel Fiverr had a good video on that. Some other people may have too. But so the name China, it means the Middle Kingdom or the Central State. So this is about the North Pole, and Peru means the land of abundance. So this is like the paradise area at the center now has the rainbow and the pyramids. And this is also about us too, inside of us. We're achieving that, pyramidal, or not pyramidal, like the upper violet, chakra colors, the higher we get in our spiritual connection to God. And our personal, capstone third eye pyramid, where this is what we're currently achieving, and this is what the Mandela effect is showing us. Everything happens on the world stage, to the earth itself and inside of us. And there's also rainbow trees now too. And I think Moneybags had a video on this one too. And I never heard of rainbow trees, but again, with now it's the rainbow tree, the rainbow mountain, the rainbow trees, the pyramids, these all relate to this North Pole evolution. And Mario Kart 64, this is a game I played quite a bit with my friends. And the Mario logo, for one, it didn't have the A going into the M like this, and the O is smaller. So this would probably be a negative thing for the name Mario, which I just didn't have time to even look into. But I know that this that definitely does not look right. And you can see it here. I played this game a ton, Mario 3. So the did not cross into the M like this. You can see how the M kind of goes farther over to the right. It's just strange. Then the I and the O is very strange too. But what I really wanted to show you was this Rainbow Road, and the Rainbow Road, this used to be the most difficult, course in the game, basically, because you could just drive right off of it, but now the characters can't drive off of the Rainbow Road because there are stars, as a border all around the, outside of it. So you would just bump off of these stars now, but this this isn't the way it used to be. It used to be extremely hard, and you would just fall right off of this. So all these stars were added. This is not the way it used to be, and this is the Rainbow Road. So God is telling us that, like, these stars, I don't wanna get too into the star symbolism, but it's basically like our, again, symbolizing our progress, our third eye, spiritual achievement, something along those lines where, you know, that's why the Hollywood people are known as stars, because they're like the crappy, satanic version of God's stars, like we're like God's stars. And when we achieve that status, we're not going to fall off of this rainbow road anymore. We're on the path, to the top of the mountain, to paradise, when we've achieved that level in, God's eyes. So here we have the A's again. Talked about these. So this is also the space, symbolism. The space refers, like I said, to the space outside of the dome, but also to the space, our inner space in our heads. So we have the mountain here in space.com, space mountain, literally mountain. And also there's other things going on here too with the N and the T. Man, I think I still have a lot to talk about. My voice is kind of going here. So here's NASA. I don't think this logo was like this. There's two NASA logos. So it's just this one NASA logo, but it's weird with the letters connected here, and the A and the S and the mountains. And I don't know if you can see it, but this Space Cowboys, this is definitely strange too. Like, no crossbar on the A, and also no crossbar on the E. I guess you could say maybe this line is making the crossbar on the E, but I don't remember it looking like this, and definitely not with the A. If that's what they were doing, then this should be up higher, to cross the A, but that's not what we see. And, here's a bunch of others. Star Crystal I talked about, the island I talked about. This, Twisted Metal Black, this is a 100% Mandela effect for me. My friends and I had this game. We liked these, Twisted Metal games, and, it definitely did not have, or wasn't missing the crossbar here. So this is like the Twisted Metal, Black Rock Mountain, basically. And also the Dream, Theater has it. And, yeah, you could, yeah, think about these on your own, because they all connect to the same symbolism. Demolition Man, I think the E is also a Mandela effect here. I do kind of, I think I had this on VHS actually in the 90s. And I feel like I remember back then seeing the E change, and I was a little confused about it. But the A definitely was not like this. And this is also, you have John, Spartan versus Simon Phoenix. So this is like, the Dark Phoenix versus the John, right pillar symbolism and all that. And the Da Vinci Code, I'm forgetting what Da Vinci means, but it is related to all this, if you want to look that up. And Alien Resurrection 100% was not like this either. So a lot to think about and look at with those. Excalibur, of course, is a huge one. This is the blue beam sword in the stone, and here we have the mountain Mandela effect symbol. This also is kind of weird too with the eye. I feel like the eye should have a crossbar here at the top, so now it's kind of like a central pillar type symbol. And here's a Soul Calibur 2. This one definitely. This is another game that my friends and I played quite a bit. And actually, if you look at at least the first 3 Soul Calibur covers, they're all Mandela affected, but not in the same ways. I think this is the only one with the, A without the crossbar or the, the mountain symbolism in it. But also, I mean, here you have, like, the sword and the stone again, the Excalibur, and it's called Soul Calibur, and, like, soul is another huge pattern of the Mandela effect, and, again, relating it to the, central mountain. And here's another cover for Excalibur just to show you guys, 'cause, there might be, like, a little bit of changing here, like, the A looks kinda weirdly tall, but I don't really see much that I would say in this cover. This looks like it's, like, French or something, but there is another oh, it is French, yeah. But there is another, I mean, this is like an English release too, or American. So I'm just saying this is like a normal logo for this movie too. So I'm just bringing it to your attention because it might change in the future. And the Excalibur Casino in Las Vegas, I I have a feeling that this is Mandela affected, where the E goes into the X, and then the A just seems weirdly close to this L. Um, but it's another thing to just, keep in mind because it could change again. A lot of these changes are incremental changes where something can change and then it changes again and again and again, possibly too. Many things have changed multiple times. So Carmen San Diego, her outfit definitely used to be yellow, but now it's red. And the name Carmen means garden, like the Garden of Eden or the paradise. And the name San Diego means supplanter. So, in my opinion, I mean, I could be wrong about this one, but I think the symbolism is that the supplanter of the garden wears red, not yellow. Like yellow is like a better color. It's like the golden color, the yellow and blue and all that. So the supplanter would be like the red, more satanic coloring, perhaps. So here's a Carmen. Like I know for a fact that it's Mandela effect. It's just sometimes the meanings are maybe there, maybe not, and sometimes they have, like, multiple interpretations as well, so it's just more to, think about. Um, so Carmen meaning, garden, and, San Diego, Diego basically means James, and then if you look up James, James means, supplanter. And this is another name related change where a wormhole, it used to be known as an Einstein Rosenberg bridge, but now it's just an Einstein Rosen bridge. And as I showed you guys before, the word berg means mountain. So whenever you see Berg in something like Steven Spielberg, like so Steven Spielberg, like I said, like Stephen King is like the crowned king, and then Steven Spielberg would be like the crowned storyteller from the mountain, basically. So like who are again, like who are these people? um, but in this case, the Mandela effect took the mountain out of the wormhole. So now it's just known as an Einstein Rosen bridge. But I definitely remember it being an Einstein Rosenberg bridge. And oh, so here, mountain or berg means mountain or hill. Here's another movie called Atlantis. It's a Disney movie. I never saw this. I can't claim this to be a Mandela effect, but I do think it's very possible. This middle A, I wouldn't necessarily say, but the first A, like, why would you start this off with? This is like a kids movie, Why would you start it off with like not even a letter, like this should be a normal A, and then if you wanna do something, more fun or interesting here, I can understand that, but not this first one, that's too weird. So, I mean, like, it seems like a Mandela effect to me, I'm not familiar with the movie. I have, like, actually, scrolled through it a little bit, after seeing this Mandela effect, and it's got tons of world script symbolism in this movie. Um and here you can even see on the cover, they have the misty North Pole Island mountain here in the center and the concentric circles and all that. And this is where Atlantis is at the central North Pole. And here's some other covers for it too. So they have like the giant mountain lambda symbol here, which is why I think like the middle A likely always was that way. But I just really doubt that the first A would be that way too. But even if it's not a Mandela effect, they're still tying this mountain symbolism to the Atlantis name, and this is Disney, so it's a huge, world script company and a world script piece of media or movie. And then this cover too shows the pyramid shooting the blue beam up. And this one I don't think is a Mandela effect, but I did want to bring it to people's attention because Here we have the world script showing us, Stargate Atlantis, and here they put the portal right over the pyramid. Now, this could be a Mandela effect. I don't think so, though. It looks like it's part of the design of the logo. Here you can see it here too, and here obviously the dome symbolism and a ton of other stuff with the water mirror and all that. And I want to show you some stuff from the Sonic the Hedgehog movie because this plays into it too in an interesting way. And I've talked about these Sonic movies a lot, so I don't want to say too much about like the posters and stuff because I already talked about it. Um, but here we have Sonic running from Jim Carrey, the JC, but he's playing the Antichrist role. He's basically the Kraken with the robot drone army of the dead, basically. So here's Sonic running towards the pyramids, and here's the storm, and then here's Sonic is the blue beam, and the blue beam is going up to the top of the pyramid, and he has these rings, these eclipse portal rings, and he throws the ring to the top of the pyramid, and here's the blue beam shooting up to the top of the pyramid and going through the portal. And that's what they're showing you in this Stargate Atlantis cover. This is the same symbolism. So I'm not saying either of these are Mandela effects. This is just the world script media showing you this symbolism of, the blue beam shooting up the pyramidal mountain to this portal at the top. And that's the Stargate. And again, with the word, star and gate, these are all important keywords to the world script. So here's the blue beam. So what happens here is he shoots these rockets at Sonic and kind of blows up this area, and it's like he killed Sonic. Now obviously this is a kids movie and he didn't kill Sonic, but this is the Phoenix symbolism because Sonic represents the blue beam and the Jesus Christ, energy essentially, which Jesus of course dies and then is resurrected. So they're all looking at him like he died, and then they're saying that they're his friends or something along those lines, and then that power of like friendship brings him back to life. And then here we see the blue beam plasma shooting up, and now Sonic is super powered now with after being resurrected, and he's able to take out the Antichrist with the blue beam plasma and break the glass and do all the things that we've been talking about. Here's like the smoke crack and tentacles coming out, and like I said, I don't want to get too into it, but he makes like like kind of like that Star of Bethlehem type shape over the villain as he's destroying him. The blue beam shooting up into the Kraken. It's all the same symbolism. And when he curls up, he's like the spiked ball, which is like the seeds of the blue beam tree of life, essentially. And here's breaking the glass and defeating the Kraken. And what's really interesting too is at the end of the movie, so these two characters, they're like the heroes of the movie, and they help Sonic. They're his friends, and this guy from the government comes. His name's Walter too, which is interesting. The W name, I've talked about that before, and he's basically it's kind of like a devil character in my opinion, and but he's giving them their reward for doing what they did basically. So he gives them this letter, and they're excited to get it, and he makes it sound like it's this really awesome thing. So they open it, and it's a gift certificate from Uncle Sam for the Olive Garden. And of course, they're like, "Oh, this is not what we thought you were gonna give us." So like it's a joke for the audience, the people who are just watching this as like, normies, they have no idea what they're seeing. They just think it's like some funny joke, like, "Oh, you can go get like never ending breadsticks at the Olive Garden or something." Um, but what this really is they've been because they helped Sonic um, resurrect and come back to life and defeat the Kraken, they now have a ticket to paradise. Basically, it's like two tickets to paradise, like that song, like that Eddie Money song. But that's what this is. Like they now have a key to the garden, and it's also the olive garden. So this is like the Mount of Olives again, like we were talking about before. And this also might even be a Mandela effect where the art is extended, but I just wanted to make the point that the heroes basically get a ticket to paradise at the end, even though the normal audience watching it has no idea what they're looking at as usual. So here I put some logos on here. I think I talked about most of these. Coast to Coast. This is one I didn't talk about. This is interesting. This is that George Norrie show, I guess, but it definitely didn't have the A's looking like this and the letters all merged together like this. It's very strange now. And this peak, I think it's like window cleaner. But this wasn't like this either. And again, with the mountain symbolism, the E into the A, and the A is probably extended down as well. Yeah, you can check some of these things out on your own. Let's see, Star Trek. So I was gonna get into, man, I think I'll try to get through it. Hold on one second. So there's a lot of changes relating to A's, and they're not always just the mountain A. They turn into these delta shapes as well. So here we have Star Trek, and also look at the word generation. Like this is so crazy. It wasn't like that. And there's also more missing pieces too. Like the K didn't look like that. That's crazy. But again, with the star transformers, it's like we transform through the delta through the door. It wasn't like that. Also, I think the word "the" was added too. It was just Transformers, the movie. I don't remember like a "the Transformers," the movie. That's weird. And this is also, huge. Nintendo GameCube did not. Game Boy Advance did not look like that with the Delta A's. Labyrinth wasn't like this. L into A is another common Mandela effect, and of course, this represents the maze, like under the Yggdrasil tree where we're all at. Battlestar Galactica. I'm not too familiar with Battlestar Galactica. The A's were like this either, and there's some other merging too. And again, with the star symbolism. And here's Space Camp, which I think is merged here with the C and the A. So think of the space inside of our heads and the camp. This is like the camp of the saints. And here's I think the Japanese release for this movie. And here you can see they have the Delta A's. And here's another cover too. So I just brought this to your attention because I don't think it's Mandela affected. So this might change in the future. It's possible. Saturday Night Fever. So, I mean, think of these words. So, like, this is the end of the week, and this is crazy. It wasn't like that with the Delta A's. But we're in the great, the darkest night. Saturday is, the end of the week basically, and like the fever could even be like the CV stuff. And here's a better look at it too, with the A's looking ridiculous, like these deltas. Another logo, and this is like the main VHS tape. I mean, it definitely was not like that. And this might, there might be some other changes too, like with the R being separated and things like that. Adobe, I remember this just being a more normal A. It wasn't like a delta shape for their logo. And this is like the Adobe means like house or home, I think. So like to go home, go through the delta through the door portal, basically. Same thing with Chateau. I never saw this before. I just randomly came across it while looking at like VHS tapes online because this is something to clean your VCR. But I doubt they had these Delta A's, and it's kind of the same thing as Adobe. It means house or home. Probably home is a better way to put it. Attack on Titan. I don't think it was like this. Weirdly enough, I did see this show, but I just don't have like a super strong memory. But this just looks really weird to me. So I think these like T's are connected and the A's were turned into deltas like other things. And there's a lot going on there too. I don't want to get too into it, but um you can see how just strange that looks. This one's definitely a Mandela effect, even though I'm not super familiar with it. But you have the R into the A with the delta. And the reason I know it's definitely a Mandela effect is because of this. This is a common pattern of the Mandela effect, and nobody would ever make the word "the" look like this, where the H and the E are just merged into each other. It's just so strange. But again, we have Brave Star, and the Delta door, into the A. Same thing here with the Star bus company. So this is like the Star vehicle. Same thing with Toyota Camry. I don't remember Camrys having an A that looks like this. And Camry means crown. And this company Bandai, if you can see that, I don't remember Bandai looking like this. This is like a toy company. Um, again with the Delta A's, and, they have a new, logo, it looks like this, so, like, where's the Delta A's, you know? And if you look up, Bandai, it means eternally unchanging, things that are eternal. Daewoo, not all of the logos. Notice how they switched it afterwards, but they started out with like a normal A, and then it went to this Delta A from 78 through 2002. And I don't think that's the way it looked. This one's not like 100% one for me, but I'm pretty sure it is a change. It also looks a lot like the Tree of Life and all that too. And Daewoo means great universe, apparently. And, Super Hang-On is a game for, Sega Genesis. Not 100% on this, but it does have, like, that yellow and blue coloring and, the Delta A. I just don't see why it would be like that. Um, I remember it being a normal A, but it's not a game that I had or played or anything, so I can't really say, but that's not the way I remember it anyway. And this Titanfall game, it's sort of a newer game, so I can't really say. But even if it's not a Mandela effect, they are again associating this Delta A with the Titan, which is interesting because it's like Attack on Titan. So I do think this is a Mandela effect, but I don't know 100%. I haven't played that game. This one's definitely a Mandela effect. United States Postal Service. There's no way it looked like this. This is totally crazy. Um, so, I mean, there's a lot to think about too in terms of this because it's probably one that you wouldn't expect, but it's definitely not the way it was. So here it's showing how this like spiraling, looping, rainbow coloring up the central pillar. Don't want to get too into that. So, okay, so like this would be like the flower at the top, like the violet flower. So here in Batman Begins, this is the start of the Christopher Nolan trilogy. Batman begins by waking up inside of a prison, which is basically what we're doing is waking up inside of this, prison world. It's also like a school, it's not just a prison. And he's on the path of destruction. That's why they're highlighting his left eye. And this Ra's al Ghul guy comes in to give him a chance to get out of this prison, and he says, go climb this mountain over here, and on the eastern slopes, and remember, east means up. There's a rare blue flower. So he says, pick that flower and carry it to the top of the mountain and come find me. So, and you'll find what you're looking for. So then Bruce says, well, what am I looking for? And then Ra's al Ghul says, well, only you can know that. So the highest mountain is like the crown chakra, the top of the tree of life, um, our highest state of enlightenment, the truth. The blue is generally the color of truth and the color of Jesus and the blue beam. And this flower he finds too, it's like it's surrounded by these spiked tentacles as well. And he climbs this mountain in the storm through the mist, and he arrives at the mountain gate. And he knocks at the door, and the door opens, and he delivers this, flower to him, to Ra's al Ghul. So this is all symbolic of Bruce becoming enlightened, essentially, and reaching the top of the mountain. And these, like a tree, that has fruit on it, it flowers. So it's symbolically appropriate, of course. Pan's Labyrinth. This is really interesting. I talked about this a little bit previously in the previous video, but it starts off with this story. So there's this mother who's pregnant, and this is her daughter, and she says, tell your brother in my womb, one of your stories to help him settle down. So she says, many years ago, in a sad, faraway land, there was an enormous mountain made of rough black stone. At sunset, on top of that mountain, a magic rose blossomed every night that made whoever plucked it immortal, but no one dared go near it because its thorns were full of poison. And every day the rose wilted, unable to give its gift to anyone, forgotten and lost at the top of that cold, dark mountain, forever alone until the end of time. So I mean, how crazy! Like that's how the movie starts, and this is all about the labyrinth. It's like the movie Labyrinth with, David Bowie, and there's a ton of symbolism, obviously, in this poster. Um, But, you have the dead world tree. This could even be like saying it's like the world under our world, like, if this is the dome on our world here, this is like the underworld with the dead tree and where she has to go through the maze, and you have all the Kraken tentacles and all that, and this is also a Mandela affected, logo too as well. I talked about that in the previous, video, but this is just so crazy, like, I mean, this is, Guillermo, what is his name? Guillermo del Toro, video or, movie. So he's obviously a big world scripter. He's also the guy who made Hellboy. So I was watching the new Stranger Things, and I mean, if you want to see just like endless confirmation about all the stuff on this channel, I mean, just watch Stranger Things in the new season because it was like every like minute they were saying or doing something that relates to all the stuff that we talk about here. And this is the poster for the new season. Of course, this is like the Kraken sorcerer entity with the tentacles and all that. And there's a lot going on, but he lives at this North Pole house basically, and here you have like the single light post, and there's a lot of symbolism too with the house architecture we can get into. I don't want to get super into it, but I mean you have like the central pillar under the dome here basically, and this is kind of like a crown almost, and the concentric dome doorway, and like the steps under the pyramid. Like architecture isn't something I'm like super into, but you can find all of this symbolism and world script stuff in architecture as well. It's in like pretty much anything that could be classified as art. So this is basically like the devil character who owns the house, and he kidnapped this girl. She's like the younger daughter of Mike, who's one of the main characters, and she basically plays like the Alice in Wonderland role in this season, and she thinks that he's a good guy. He's like tricking her because she's naive. And notice how they're making like the M handhold too as they're walking up into this house. And then you can notice at the door they have the flower or the rose at the top of the tower because this represents that same symbolism that we've just been looking at. This North Pole flower, central location and all that. And she thinks that he's protecting her by keeping her in this house, but he's actually got ulterior motives. He's the most evil person in the world basically. So she's in this house all alone. He leaves, and she starts looking around and starts doing stuff. And notice too, this episode is directed by Frank Darabont. This is the guy who directed Shawshank Redemption, and the other episodes are directed by the Duffer Brothers. So interesting that they brought Frank Darabont to direct one of the episodes. And she's like finds stuff around the house, and she finds this looking glass. So here we have Alice and the looking glass, and then someone is on at the outside of the house, and I think this is like one of the monsters, but someone else leaves a message for her in this mailbox. And interesting too, like I just showed you guys, like the United States Postal Service Mandela effect, and I think that relates to getting the mail, like you've got mail, that type of thing. It's like getting communications, from the mountain, basically. And on this note, her name is Holly, and keep that in mind too, because that's heavily symbolic of a lot of things. So it says, "I need your help. Meet me at the X." And the X is always symbolic of the North Pole if it's one of these world script pieces of media. Which Stranger Things, I would put it up there with Lost. Actually, it's just like every minute or two, there's something world script related going on. So she looks at this map, and there's a ton of stuff on here I could talk about. I'm just kind of getting tired, but from the house all the way through these different things, then she has to get to the X. And he also gives her a compass, or whoever left this note gives her a compass. And in this last season, this communications tower plays a big role. So here you have the two guys. They were like racing up to this communications tower to impress Nancy, and that's not the when they get up there, she's not even looking anymore because it's just like she's not interested in their competition. But that's also not the right motivation to be going to the top of the communications tower. It's that kind of message. But whenever you see the communications tower, the bell tower, the water tower, this is all symbolic of that central North Pole location, and also the top of our bodies internally on a symbolic spiritual level. So the communications tower is for this radio station where Robin is like the DJ for their town. They're all in like a quarantine type of situation too, which is interesting because they breathed in what they call snowflakes, which is also interesting. It's got a lot of connections. I don't want to get too into it, but, there's, like, snowflakes and I Pet Goat too on the, wall, if you remember. Um, and like, it's just a different set of symbolism I don't wanna get too into, but she's, using this radio show as a way to send coded messages to her friends. So what we have is this North Pole location with the communications tower, and then the one sending out the messages is sending out these encoded messages to her friends. So this is basically like what Jesus is doing from the North Pole, sending us all these, Mandela effects and other messages for his, quote unquote friends, us to figure out and to find him. And, here in this scene, this is Elle and Mike, and she's, like, not sure about what's going on in their future, and he's kinda, like, relating to her that this, like, quote, unquote, "fictional story" where, the heroes end up after all they've done, they've seen too much, so, they can't really be in the normal world anymore, and they basically have to go to this paradise area with, all these waterfalls. So he's basically describing how when they're done with their heroic journey, they'll end up in paradise. And that's also what happens in Lord of the Rings. Like, that's why Frodo has to go with the elves at the end of Return of the King because he's just like he's seen too much and been through too much, and he can't like mesh back into normal, the normal world of people anymore. So he goes to paradise with the elves. So here, this is Will and his mother, Winona Ryder, and Winona Ryder's name is also a Mandela effect. It used to be WY, and now it's WINONA. And this character, Robin, she's basically telling Will, and notice too, she has this "Beam Me Up" shirt, kind of like the "Beam Me Up" Scotty thing, and this place sucks. It's kind of interesting. Um, and also you got like the pyramidal triangle design with the flying saucer, apex dome type symbolism. Yeah, but she's saying to Will because he used to be or he is a spy for the Kraken. The Kraken kind of took him over at one point, and then he was like spying on his friends for the Kraken. But he went back to being a hero. But she's saying, you got to imagine yourself because you're still connected to this Kraken entity. Imagine that you have like a communications tower at the top of your head. And this is basically what I've been saying for years here on this channel that like we have this communication tower symbolically inside of us or at the top of our head to God. And you could if you're tuned to Jesus or tuned to the Antichrist, but Will can use this communications tower to disrupt, what the Kraken is doing and to perhaps take things over for himself. Here's a better look at her shirt, maybe. And so they go out looking for this location where Will had one of his visions, and they find this like spiral on the ground. But they get into this whole conversation, and they're kind of like making an X too with their flashlights, and she starts talking about mandalas and how it's like a mandala, but it should be like concentric circles. And she even keeps saying the word mandala over and over again in different ways, like Mandala, Mandela. And again, this is like something I've been talking about since the beginning of this channel. One of the first videos is the real name of the Mandela effect or something like that, where I relate it to the mandala and things like that. And it's like what she's saying here, it's like straight out of like my video. It's like so crazy. And then the concentric circles too is like the North Pole location. I mean, it's just it was really over the top watching this. There was only 4 episodes so far, and they draw this Vesica Pisces like shape with like the central spear needle in the middle. It's kind of like the Washington Monument type of shape. But this is all North Pole symbolism. And then he's talking about how the Vecna sorcerer, Kraken, is abducting all these kids. And then he drew the kids on the wall. And notice how their arms are they're like doing the cross pose, but their arms are down. So I think like when arms are up, it's good. When arms are at the sides, it's like, the middle cross. And when the arms are down, it's bad. It's more like for the Antichrist, and because these kids are body snatched. And just keep this symbolism in mind with the arms down, because this happens quite a bit, and I'm going to show you another instance of that here soon too. And here, it's just like so weird how this show taps into like everything, because he's literally talking about the Einstein Rosen bridge, And this is one of the Mandela effects that I was just talking about, and I actually had this in the presentation before I watched this. So this is Lucas, another main character's younger sister, and notice how she has this shirt, and it's called Camp Central Park. And notice it's like the lone tree. It's like the tree mountain, and it's a little tough to read, but it's Camp Central Park. And so then the Alice girl is following her compass, and she's literally following it north to get to this X. See? And then when she gets to the X, she's surprised because she arrives at the split mountain. And then when she gets to the split mountain, she has to go into this cave. And inside of the cave, um, she finds her savior, basically. So here she's using the looking glass, and then when the person comes out, she gets scared and runs away, and she's not sure who it's going to be. And it's this Max character, and her name is Max. I forget what her last name is, but it starts with an M. So she's the MM from the Mount Meru, and is she's been waiting for a savior too. So they basically save each other in different ways. I mean, it's very. I don't want to get too into it because I it's just a lot to talk about. But honestly, like I would recommend watching this and figuring it out. For yourself. It's that powerful because it's all about going into this crystal cave and communicating with our savior. Um, to help us find the truth and to get to paradise. And then right after that scene, they show a girl watching The Sword in the Stone. So again, here with the same, this Merlin, and Merlin is actually said to have been born in the Crystal Cave because Merlin is like a Christ character as well, and Arthur is like us who pulls the sword from the stone. So here's the communication tower with the needle on top and the characters under it. And then this is Dustin. And notice they're in this church, which is a North Pole location. Whenever you see like a church kind of in the middle of nowhere and it's got these tentacles all over it. And he's showing them this concentric circle map. And they even talk about how it's concentric circle. And he says it's not the circle that's important, it's the what's at the center that's important. And then they show, what's at the center is and then what's at the center just happens to be, I don't think I have a picture of it, but I've shown it before, but the building where they actually started this whole thing off, where they opened up the portal to release the Kraken into the real world, it's a building that's shaped like an X. So again, with the X in the center and the North Pole symbolism. And here Max is telling her something. I'm kind of forgetting what it was, but something like how it's basically a prison world that's run by the devil, and she has a plan to get out of to escape. And this is like the escape artist thing I was talking about in the previous stream. I think it's the movie Knowing, which I'll bring up here in a second. One of the production companies is called Escape Artists, and this is what we have to do is escape from this prison. And so here's the scene where and also she says the Alice character asks her where are we, and she says we're living in a memory, which is really interesting. And the stuff that she says in this scene, it's like every line of it is really interesting and definitely worth checking out. So here's she's telling her how she got to that mountain cave in the first place, and she was running from this Vecna sorcerer guy, and she ran into this cave, and she was saying that she never saw this guy be scared ever, but he was really scared of going into this cave. It's like the one place that he can't go, and that's what's happening with us. Like our crystal cave in our head is the one place where we're like free from this physical world prison and the devil presence and the kraken and all that, and it's where we communicate with Jesus. And this is the one place where he fears to go. And notice like the left arm and all that. So this is really interesting. This kid, he's basically like representative of us. He starts off as like a snotty, brat, jerk kind of a kid. But then when he learns the truth and gets saved by the main characters, he becomes a good guy and he tries to help his fellow classmates out of their prison situation too. Um, and but he tells them what's about to happen, and since he's it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf, not really that, but they don't really believe him because it's such an outlandish story that he's telling them. I mean, this is like, trying to tell like a family member or like a neighbor or someone, about the Mandela effect or about, the shape of the earth or about the fake news or the moon landing or something like that. And then they're just like, yeah, whatever, man. And they all walk away. But then what's really interesting about this scene is instead of looking at the kids as they walk away, he looks directly at the camera and he says something along the lines of, there's gonna be a bunch of monsters that appear on Earth, and they're gonna kill all of you. But he's not saying it to the kids, he's saying it directly to us, because that's what's gonna happen is the people who don't go with Jesus to this mountain, they're gonna be left on Earth to fend for themselves, and it's not gonna be a pretty situation because not only is there going to be this plasma apocalypse going on, there's also going to likely be a bunch of like mythological monsters and things that return to the earth at that time because when the dome comes down, the monsters are allowed back into the earth. And these are like the phantazoids that Jay Dreamers talks about. So, like I was showing you how, let's see, how um, the Max or the character ran to the cave in the mountain. See, that's like this Mandela effect for Logan's Run. So here, this is a 100% change where the G merged into the A, and what the name Logan means is a little cave. So it's like running to the little cave, and then the A is like our third eye, and then the G would represent God. So this is where we merge with God in the little cave, and we have to run to it away from this physical world and away from this Kraken influence, and away from the beast system. All right, so this anime, Naruto, hopefully there's not too much left. I mean, I know it's amazing, but I can't really speak too much. I'm getting kinda tired, but so I don't think there's too much left. So Naruto, Mandela affected logo, the R is longer than it used to be. This is like the Kraken entity and the pyramidal characters as we see so many times. This is one of the main villains of the series. He opens up his Vesica Pisces third eye, but it's red and black. This is evil. He's putting a spell over the whole world. I've talked about this before. You can pause the screen and check it out if you'd like. But I've also talked about this before. But what I wanted to show you was just this is the central location, and here's the dead world tree, the chopped off tree. And all the characters get wrapped up in these cocoons, and they're basically body snatched, and they end up living in a fake world because of this. And they're all hanging on the roots of this dead tree. And then here's like the world from a far view. So you have like the whole flat shape of the world here. And in the center, you have the concentric circles and the dead cut off world tree. This is like the Devil's Tower for close encounters. And then above here, this is kind of like the apex dome symbolism with the red plasma, controlling things and putting casting a spell over the whole world, which is basically the world that we're living in right now. But there's actually a secret villain behind him who's the ancient black goo monster, and he takes over that guy and then covers him and everything in like black goo. And he basically says, "Don't worry, no one's going to die from this. It's just to amass from the individuals who are." And because they're building an army for this Antichrist Kraken character who's about to be coming, they're forming soldiers in order to form them into her soldiers. So this is that army of the dead Kraken army. This is the people who unfortunately took the Black Goo V, in my opinion. I think that V has basically been evolving inside of their body, and at a certain point, they're going to be taken over, and they're essentially part of the Kraken army. I don't think it's too late for anyone. I would advise anyone to just pray to God and ask for anything to be removed from their body, like the V. It's not, I don't think it's over till it's over. It's like well, it's like another like one of those sayings. Like it ain't over till the large lady sings. And what happens when like a large opera singer sings is she breaks the glass, and so that's like the sound. It's the singing of the blue beam that breaks the glass of the dome, and that will be the last day when we won't have any more options and our choices are going to be finalized. And then that dead world tree in Naruto, it actually grows up into this giant pillar with the flower on top. But this is all a negative thing. There's good and bad versions of everything. And this is actually called like the God tree. You can look it up for yourself. And there's a lot to get into with that. I mean, I don't want to get too hung up on details too, because I think it's important. Because like with details, you could just keep going down these endless rabbit holes. But the important thing is to see the whole picture, in my opinion. So like this movie Weapons that came out recently. Notice how the kids have their arms down like this. This is about a bunch of kids who get abducted. They basically run out of their houses and they run and like no one knows where they went. So there's this like this like crazy looking clown looking woman, and she's basically the devil, and she lives in the North Pole house, and she's the one who had all the kids come to her, but no one can really figure out what's going on. Sorry, like big spoilers. This movie's actually kind of cool, but I'm gonna spoil it. So here there's even like a scene where she's like dressed in clown makeup like that, and this is one of the main characters, and they talk about like parasites and all that. So you have the parasite, body snatcher stuff, and they're trying to figure out where the kids went. So they find out that they went to this location here, and here you have the X and the circle again. So they're at the North Pole location, and what's at the North Pole location is this devil woman with her like downward door, like the six, like this could be like a delta shape too. It's like the six door bell, and when she rings this bell, she basically has all the kids' DNA. And so this is like, all the V symbolism, with their DNA, she's able to turn them into body snatched puppets, basically. And she could do this with anybody. And she has this tree that's like a holly tree, which we talked about before too, with the name holly, which is also the wood that they use to make magic wands out of. And she takes a piece of this holly tree, which is like basically the dead, world tree at the North Pole, and she um, wraps the DNA of the person with this holly tree, and then with that bell, she's able to just get them to do whatever she wants. This is that body snatcher puppet symbolism that we've talked about a lot. So, and here in the movie Knowing, at the end, I talked about this a lot too. But at the end of the movie, the kids go to this North Pole paradise location with the world tree, and you have the crystal ships. This is like the star crystal symbolism, like this, like we talked about. And here in Narnia, they're at the World Tree. Oh, I think I just wanted to remind you that he's saying that their ancestors were pirates who found a cave to bring them to Narnia in the first place. And this game, Pirates, for NES, definitely changed too. It used to have a giant A, or sorry, the A used to be just normal sized, but now it's a giant A in the center, which I find interesting too. Here you can see it. And this also relates to the word pyramid. You could check this out. What's interesting too is they say it's not likely to have a fire connection, but I think this is the more likely connection. This fire connection, and this also relates to the word power and mountain of power, which is in Conan the Barbarian. I don't want to get too into it, and I think I'll just end on this One Piece uh, example. So one of the story arcs in this One Piece show, this is like one of the biggest shows in the world. It's the biggest anime series ever. It's and Spider-Man and things like that. So one of their story arcs is called Skypia, and this is one of the main characters, Nami. She's at this bar, and they're asking about this place called Sky Island. And when she asks about Sky Island, the normies laughing at us, for having for thinking about the things that I've basically been talking about this entire stream. And they're also this is like how normies react. Like if I were mentioned in this stream, they find out that this guy living here might have some information. You could see the X in the circle here, and right outside his house, um, he has the cut off tree. So this is like the dead world tree that we've seen in so many other things. And they find this old book, and in the book it's called the Book of Noland the Liar. And here you see like the eight pointed star. It's a famous story in the North. I don't know if you can see that. So it's a fairy tale, but I heard this guy actually existed. So his name is Mont Blanc, Noland. So again, with this white mountain symbolism. So it's like really incredible how the Mandela effect and the world script stuff, how they both continually connect to each other. Because I talked about this Mont Blanc logo before, and he used to live in the North Blue country. So the North, but also the blue. So it's a story from say that it took place 400 years ago, which is interesting because 400 years ago in our time would be the time prior to the previous reset, most likely. Like how people talk about like the millennial reign of Christ that likely or possibly happened before. So this would have been back then, back in a time of truth. So he was an explorer. I don't want to get like too. While he was exploring, he found a mountain of gold on an island in the. So the king, story is true, and they survived the storms against and battle monsters and all that. I'm just checking my computer is acting a little weird, but it's okay. And they make it to this island, and when they get there, the mountain of gold isn't there. So this guy lying, but what happened was, basically like cataclysmic reset, and things changed where they were. So what actually happened was that mountain of gold, um, he thinks it sank to the bottom of the sea, but what actually happened was it went up into the sky, and it's actually the mountain of gold is actually up in the sky island, which is very similar to what I think is in the apex dome, which is likely where paradise is. So this guy went down as a liar, even though he was telling the truth. It's just that the world literally changed between the time that he was originally there and then the next time he went there. So it's like if you went to the North Pole back in 1500, maybe there was like the continents there and all that. But maybe now if you go to the North Pole, there might actually not be anything there, or there could be something there. I've never been there, but I'm just saying that we definitely know that the world has been reset and changes, and things get melted down and disappear and all that kind of stuff. Um, so in order to get to this sky island, they put wings on their vessel, and they have to take a leap of faith over an abyss. So here they're going into this spiraling abyss, and their ship goes flying over the abyss, and they're like, "Oh my god, we're falling!" But then all of a sudden, the abyss disappears, and they're like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" And then all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh no, wait, it's starting!" And then the water starts shooting up straight up into the air, and they're literally on the blue beam. So the blue beam takes their vessel from the ground to up to where like the apex dome would be, up to this sky island. And then this is the guy who kind of trained them and lives at that house with the sawed off tree at the North Pole Island. And this is like literally just the creators of One Piece showing the blue beam shooting up into the sky. And they're going up to the Sky Island, and straight up a pillar of water. The ship is flying. In order to fully ascend, their vessel has to fly. So that's like us. We need to spiritually be flying. This is like I was showing you at the end of Tomb Raider, where Lara Croft has to literally fly up the blue beam at the top of the pyramid to get the capstone, and then once she does, she is able to communicate with her dead, spiritual father in the camp of the saints. Um, so there, in order to fully send, so it's all about like being adventurous too. Like I think God likes adventurous people. Why wouldn't he? So they're going up into this place called Skypia, and it's also known as God Land. And then they're saying it's not an exit, it's an entrance. So they're they're shooting up into the sky, into this apex dome, basically. And Luffy's saying he can't breathe. This is the main character. So this like not being able to breathe symbolism. This is typical of the world script too. It happens a lot, and it's also like the higher you climb up a mountain, the more difficult it gets to breathe as well. But also, the more the kraken tentacles are around your throat, essentially, it's difficult to breathe in that regard too. So, like both sides have a difficult time breathing, basically, which I can relate to. um, after they finally break through, after they finally break through, they get to Heaven's Gate. So this is pretty over the top symbolism. So they get to this place. I mean, this is just like some anime. Like I remember when I first watched this a long time ago, it was like it was just like a story. Like I didn't like take any of this like, seriously the way I'm taking it now. Like I didn't see this symbolism, it's but like seeing it is just so obvious. Like it's crazy. Like it's literally called Heaven's Gate. And also this map of Skypia, it looked like the Skull Island that we talked about too. And this is where the Mountain of Gold was. And this part is all that was left on the like the floor of the world, or like ocean level, was like this mouth portion. And this portion got shot up into the sky with that blue beam. And then this is where the presentation will end, and they have this is the gold mountain that they end up actually finding and proving that Noland Mont Blanc character correct. And not only is there a gold mountain, but there's a golden bell. And also this tower here with the spiraling up with the portal, the O portals. I mean, there's just like it's just the same symbolism over and over again. I mean, you can see a lot in this map. And they find the golden bell, and I think this is the last. Okay, yeah. So this is like a flashback to that Noland character, and he's saying this sure is unexpected, such a huge golden bell. And he says the sound the bell makes is like a message. And this is like one of the natives on the island, and he's like a message. And he's like, after our ancestors died, their spirits ascend to heaven. In order for them to be able to return to the island, we have always been using the sound of the bell to convey our message that we're here. So it's like we're hearing this communication from this central North Pole area. Like, it's like the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood Mandela effect, if you're familiar with that. Like, he's saying, like, it's beautiful in this neighborhood, but not so much, your neighborhood. Because Mr. Rogers used to say it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, but now he says it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. So I think that's the message from God. And the name Roger means famous spearman. So the spear, again, is like symbolic of God. That's why I think Roger is one of the nicknames of God that most people don't really know about, or at least not anymore. But that's why Roger comes up a lot in the Mandela effect and in the world script. Um, but it's all about this communication that we need to be receiving from this North Pole central area. And I'll be doing a video all about just the communication stuff in the future. But like I said, it's important to just keep all these ideas in mind at the same time, because it really paints the picture of what the world script is really about. Um, but yeah, I think that's about it. Sorry, I haven't been keeping up with the chat. Oh, sorry, was there a lag the last 3 minutes? Someone's saying there was a lag. Sorry, I hope it's okay. Um, yeah, guys, I really appreciate you guys being here. Let me sometimes there's like there was like some spam messaging or whatever in the last chat. I didn't really see what was going on, but just make a few of the people moderators who I know or who I have seen. Let's see. Okay. But I mean, I don't really expect there to be many problems in the chat. Just in case there's like a spam thing or something. But I appreciate you guys being here. Um, yeah, I hope I did it justice. Like, there's like if you go back and just look at some of this stuff on your own, I mean, like some of the stuff I think is really, really over the top incredible. Like the Charles Lindbergh connection with like Shawshank Redemption and stuff like that. Like, it's so powerful. It's basically, Jesus, saving us. You don't really get more powerful than that. But I'll leave it there. My voice is pretty shot. I appreciate you guys, and until the next time, I wish you all the best and God bless.